Have you ever felt wronged, betrayed by someone you trusted? Perhaps it was a close friend, a colleague, or even a member of your own family. Someone who, instead of supporting you, used your vulnerabilities against you. They lied about you. They made up stories, slandered your name, and did everything possible to destroy your reputation. But what hurts even more is that, at times, they succeeded in making others believe them. You found yourself alone, surrounded by suspicious looks, unable to understand how things reach this point. The pain is real. You tried to move on, but the memories of what happened keep coming back. In the silence of the night, you think, why did they do this to me? What did I do to deserve this kind of attack? And sometimes a deeper doubt arises. Is God seeing all of this? Is He by my side? Let me tell you something important. God not only saw, but He is also acting. When you were crying in your room thinking no one cared, God was there. When the words spoken against you pierced your heart like arrows, God was holding you. He heard the hidden conversations. He saw the plans being devised. And do you know what's even more incredible? God, in His infinite wisdom and justice, didn't just observe. He started to work. Yes, at the very moment when everything seemed lost, He was already turning the evil aimed at you into a blessing no one could imagine. You didn't come across this message by chance. This is no coincidence. God is speaking to you now because He wants you to know that your story doesn't end in defeat. He wants you to know that what was used to try to destroy you will be used to lift you up. The chosen are targets. You carry something special within you, something others can't comprehend. Your light unsettles those who live in darkness. Your faith shakes those full of doubt, and your strength challenges those hiding behind masks. But here's the truth. They don't understand. When someone rises against a chosen one of God, they're not fighting you. They're fighting God Himself, and that is a battle they can never win. Today, I want you to feel this deep in your heart. What they tried to use to curse you, God is already turning into a blessing. He's taking every tear you've shed and using it as a seed for a future filled with victories. So take a deep breath. Lift your head high. God is working in your life, and what seemed like defeat will be transformed into a powerful testimony. Have you ever found yourself at the center of gossip and deliberate lies? Those who were supposed to support you turned your vulnerabilities into weapons against you. Perhaps they distorted facts, manipulated situations, and created a narrative where you were painted as the villain. They spread rumors, changed the way people looked at you, and slowly began to isolate you. It was as if, in every conversation, a small piece of who you are was undone, replaced by a version they had fabricated. And all the while they laughed, certain they were in control. The attacks didn't stop at your reputation. They went further. The subtle manipulation seeped into your personal relationships, creating doubts where there was once trust. Friends drifted away. Family members began to look at you with suspicion, and even in your professional life, your name carried an unfair weight. In every aspect of your life, it seemed they managed to create cracks, weakening your foundation of support. And, as if that wasn't enough, the emotional impact was devastating. In the silence of the night, you wondered what you had done to deserve this. The pain of betrayal isn't just in the act itself, but in the invisible scars it leaves behind. It robs you of peace, installs doubts about your worth, and plants seeds of insecurity. What once seemed clear is now a tangled mess of uncertainties. Every word spoken against you echoes, making it feel impossible to escape the narrative they created. You remember the times you tried to rise above it. Maybe you tried to set the record straight, to speak the truth, but their manipulation was so well crafted that it felt like no one wanted to listen. They not only twisted the facts, but managed to convince others that they were the victims. And, at times, it made you question, is God really seeing this? Where is His justice? Why does it seem like the wicked are thriving while I suffer? Social isolation is one of the cruelest weapons these people use. When you needed support the most, it felt like the world was against you. Friends withdrew, family stopped responding, and slowly, you found yourself fighting alone against a tide of lies and distrust. There were days when getting out of bed felt like a battle, and still, while you struggled, those who plotted against you seemed to flourish. They prospered. They smiled. For all appearances, they had won. Every promotion they received, every smile on social media felt like a cruel reminder that evil was being rewarded. It stirred a frustration so intense that it kept you awake. At night, how is it possible that those who acted with such malice are thriving? You looked to the sky and asked, God, aren't you seeing this? These thoughts began to corrode your faith. The impact wasn't just emotional, but spiritual too. That close relationship you had with God started to feel distant. Doubts, insecurities, and at times, even resentment crept in. Does God care? Does He really act on behalf of the righteous? You tried to hold on to God's promises, but the pain seemed to scream louder. And all the while, those who schemed against you continued. They kept smiling, living their lives as if nothing had happened. This left you feeling powerless, small against the enormity of the problem. It seemed more and more like injustice was winning. In the midst of chaos and pain, it's natural to question why all this is happening. Why me? Why this betrayal? Why so many battles? But know this, God never allows His chosen ones to face trials without a greater purpose. The suffering you endure today is part of a divine plan, a preparation for something far greater than you can imagine. Remember the story of Joseph in Egypt. He was loved by his father, but hated by his brothers, who sold him into slavery. Joseph was betrayed, falsely accused, and unjustly imprisoned. For years, he lived in what seemed to be complete abandonment. But God was at work. Every setback he faced was, in reality, a step toward the purpose God had planned. The young man, sold as a slave, became the governor of Egypt. What appeared to be a curse was transformed into a blessing, not just for him, but for his entire family and nation. The same is true for you. Attacks, betrayals, and slander are signs that you carry something special within you. The light you carry disturbs the darkness around you. The chosen are targets because they reflect what is most pure and powerful, the presence of God. Just as Joseph was placed in challenging positions to be molded, you too are being prepared for something extraordinary. God allows you to face these battles because He knows you can endure them and grow through them. With every betrayal, He strengthens your faith. With every lie, He teaches you to trust Him. With every moment of isolation, He creates space for you to hear His voice more clearly. And why are the chosen targets? Because you carry a calling, a mission that goes beyond the ordinary. The enemy knows this and tries to prevent you from reaching what God has already destined for your life. But remember, what belongs to God cannot be stolen. The difficulties you face today are like the preparation of a diamond. Before it shines, a diamond endures immense pressure. Gold, before it becomes pure, is refined by fire. The same is true for you. God is using every attack to refine you, to shape your character, to strengthen your faith, and to prepare the ground for your victory. Even when it seems like God is silent, He is at work. He is moving in areas you cannot yet see. Just as Joseph didn't know what God was doing while he was in prison, you too are being shaped in silence for something that will impact not just your life, but the lives of many around you. Your suffering is not in vain. It is proof that you are chosen. God is transforming every tear, every injustice into a tool for His perfect plan. What seemed like the end is actually the beginning of a new chapter written by the Creator's hand. In the midst of hardship, it's easy to feel alone, But the truth is that God never abandons his chosen ones. He doesn't just observe the struggles you face, he acts on your behalf. And history is filled with biblical examples showing how God transforms impossible situations into extraordinary victories. Remember Joseph. From a slave and prisoner, he was exalted to the position of governor of Egypt. God used the betrayal of his brothers as a means to save them from famine. In Genesis 50:20, Joseph declares, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." In the same way, God is transforming the harm done to you into something that will serve a greater purpose. Consider Job, a righteous man who lost everything, possessions, children, and health. Yet he remained faithful to God. In the end, Job was restored twofold. The book of Job reminds us that God not only restores but does so abundantly. The Lord blessed the latter part of Job's life more than the former. Job 42:12. The same will happen for you. And what about Daniel? He was thrown into the lion's den for remaining faithful to God. Yet God shut the mouths of the lions, and Daniel was honored before all. His faithfulness, even under pressure, revealed God's power. His story demonstrates that God is able to deliver his chosen ones, even in the most dangerous situations. Another powerful example is Mordecai and Esther. When the enemy plotted the destruction of God's people, it seemed there was no way out. But God used Esther, a young woman who may have seen herself as ordinary, to save an entire nation. The very enemy who planned their downfall was defeated by his own scheme. These stories are not just ancient accounts, but living testimonies of what God can do in your life. He is the same God who acted in the past, acts in the present, and will act in the future. What seems impossible is merely the perfect stage for God to display his power. Now is the time for you to cling to that hope. God is writing a new story for you. He is rewriting the chapters that others tried to stain. He is preparing a table for you in the presence of your enemies. Psalm 23:5. If today you feel crushed by the pressure, remember, a diamond is formed under pressure. If you feel like you're being pulled back, think of the arrow. The farther it is pulled back, the farther it will fly when released. God is using every obstacle to propel you toward the purpose he planned from the beginning. So rise up in faith. Choose to believe that your story doesn't end in defeat. God is faithful, and he always fulfills his promises. You are being prepared for something greater, and the blessings to come will far outweigh the pain you have endured. The life of a chosen one can be compared to the process of refining gold. When gold is extracted, it doesn't come pure. It's mixed with impurities, still raw, and lacks the brilliance of its true value. For gold to reach its real worth, it must be placed in fire. The extreme heat isn't meant to destroy it, but to purify it, separating all that is impure until only what is valuable remains. In the same way, the life of the chosen is like this. The struggles, betrayals, lies, and attacks you face are like that fire. They seem unbearable, as though they will consume you. But God will not allow them to destroy you. He is refining you. Every tear, every pain is removing what doesn't belong to your purpose. It's strengthening your faith, shaping your character, and preparing you for something far greater. It's in the fire that the true brilliance of gold is revealed. Similarly, it's in adversity that the true value of the chosen is manifested. God is using these circumstances to reveal who you truly are. Someone strong, resilient, and full of purpose. Refined gold doesn't just shine brighter, it also becomes more durable, valuable, and sought after. The same will be true for you. The pain that seems unbearable today will be transformed into a testimony that will touch many lives. You will be used to impact, inspire, and bring hope to those around you. Now that you understand your struggles are part of a greater plan, it's time to take a step forward. God doesn't just want you to understand the process, He wants you to take a stand. This is the moment to act with faith and courage, even in the face of adversity. First, release forgiveness. It may seem impossible to forgive those who have hurt you so deeply, but forgiveness is not a gift for them. It's a gift for you. It frees your heart from the weight of bitterness and makes room for God to work in your life. Remember, forgive and you will be forgiven. Luke 6:37. When you choose to forgive, you show that you trust in God's justice, which is perfect and sovereign. Next, declare your faith. Speak words of life over your situation. Say, God is with me, and what was meant for my harm will be turned into a blessing. By declaring this, you align your words with God's promise, demonstrating your belief in what He is already doing. Share your story. Your testimony has power. Every struggle, every victory can inspire someone facing a similar situation. What God is doing in your life is not just for you, it's to touch the lives of those around you. Don't be afraid to share how God has been faithful, even in the most challenging times. Take time for prayer and reflection. Go into your room, close the door, and talk to God. Thank Him for the process, even if you can't yet see the final result. Ask for His strength, His wisdom, and the healing only He can bring. Finally, trust in the future. God is writing a new story for you. Choose to surrender control to Him, knowing that what lies ahead is far greater than what you're facing now. As it is written in Jeremiah 29:11, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Before closing, make this declaration: Lord, I surrender my pain, my battles, and my enemies to you. I trust that you are working in my life and turning every curse into a blessing. To you be all the glory, now and forever. Let this be the moment you choose freedom in Christ, forgiveness as your weapon, and faith as your strength. God is by your side, and victory is already yours. If this message touched your heart and brought hope to your life, don't keep it to yourself. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell to receive more content. Like this, every interaction helps us reach more people with this message of faith and transformation. And more than that, share this video with someone who is going through struggles, feeling helpless, or seeking answers. You could be God's instrument to bring comfort and hope into someone else's life. Remember, your story is in the hands of the Creator, and He is working on every detail. Keep believing, declaring victory, and moving forward in faith. God is faithful, and what He has promised, He will fulfill.